So our next speaker tonight is Vance Mellon. Vance was gracious enough to step in for us at the last minute when we weren't sure who our other speaker is going to be tonight. And I don't know if Vance knew what he was going to tell us about 15 years ago. So, Vance, you have 8 to 10 minutes to say whatever the hell you want.
There's a time in every young marriage, I think, where a man has to figure out, would he fight for his wife? Would he go to death's door for his young wife? I was barely married. Kim is right over here. She's going to yell if I say anything wrong in this true story. But we were eating at the Mexican joint, 1 o'clock at night. It was wonderful. We'd had a long week. Ironically, all the police were also there with us eating. I'm not sure exactly why, but it was one of their favorite joints too. We left, we were walking home. Miracle number 1. I do sort of believe in miracles. I don't know if you call it what, Holy Ghost or something that kind of gives you a feeling sometimes. Sometimes it gives you a feeling of goodness, and this time it gave me a feeling of fear. Kim was talking, she was just talking and saying, oh, well, you know, we always have good talks, but something just flooded over me. It was like one of the worst fears I felt. I just said, Kim, chill out just for a minute here. Something's wrong. She's like, what do you mean something's wrong? Kim, please, there's something going on here. I don't know what's going on. I said, Kim, shut up, please. Sorry, Kim. But it was true. That's what I said. I was nervous. There was just something that flooded over me. And I got a very strong feeling that I needed to be alert. Miracle number 2, a few days before that, it was probably about 3 days before that, a dude at church says, come on over, man, I want to teach you jujitsu. All right, sure, I come over. So what we practiced for about an hour and a half is he had a comb, and he would come at me and try to cut me with the comb and scratch me here and there. And my job was to somehow wrangle the comb and fall on top of him, and that was the position of dominance that would allow me to do things, survive a fight of some sort. So I had that 3 days before. Over and over again, catching a knife, falling on him, catching a knife, falling on him. It didn't quite work that way when the moment came. We were walking home. We were on Lawrence Avenue, North Chicago. We were heading, and it's kind of a place with a lot of halfway houses, a little rough. We were poor. We didn't have hardly any money. We were lucky to eat out once in a while. We were walking down the block, and we saw a man way down, kind of leaning up against the building at 1:30 at night or so. And we're like, And then, as we kept walking, I could see our little brownstone. It was just like, maybe 4 buildings down, 3 buildings down. And right then, that's when I saw him. There must have been 2 of them. This guy comes out behind a van, and he has a knife pressed here about that long, and he comes out behind the van, and he goes like that. And he goes right at Kim. And I threw Kim at him and ran. No, I didn't do it. The training that I'd had 3 days before kicked in. And he came at me, and I remember it was kind of like slow motion. He was about this tall, a little taller than me. He had a hoodie and all this, and he came at me, and I remember grabbing his wrist, just like I'd been trained, and I pulled him down, but unfortunately I pulled him on top, and he was in the dominant position, because, I'd only practiced like 50 times. So I was on the ground, and Kim was screaming bloody murder. I don't know if you could give a little demonstration of that scream, Kim. That's what she did, literally, for about 3 or 4 minutes. The poor Jewish kid, he said he was Jewish because he was praying to, I don't know what, but he was up there in his apartment. He passed out, he said. It was so terrifying. But luckily, he called 911 before he did it, and I was very grateful. We kind of became friends afterwards. He called 911. Kim, she was good. She kicked the guy in the asshole specifically. Over and over and over and over. Bitch, quit kicking me! He was upset, very upset. And Kim was still screaming. She did some kind of weird chicken with its head cut off thing. She ran around to all the different windows on our block, banging on windows. She was looking for a rock to crush his head. She was doing really good things. She was really trying to help. Meanwhile, I was wrestling with this kid. And I remember looking over at the knife, and it was right here. That's miracle number, I don't know how many miracles that is now. It was right here up against my palm, yet it was not cutting the blade. And I was holding it, and I remember holding it and thinking, oh, that's kind of dumb. Maybe I should grab his wrist. I grabbed his wrist. And I pulled him in really tight so he couldn't get some kind of advantage. Meanwhile, Kim came back every now and then and kicked him in the asshole. So that helped a lot. And pretty soon it became a stalemate. I don't know how to describe it any differently. I had my little school bag. I was studying at the Art Institute of Chicago. I pushed him off somehow. I said, okay, just chill out. Here. Take whatever you want, man. And I held my bag out between us. And Kim got right up to me and said, why are you doing this? I'm like, Kim, back off. He's right up to him. And he says, because I'm on crack, bitch. It's pretty scary. And at which point, I dug in here. I said, here, he took my Walkman, which I had back then, but it broke away and all I got were the headphones. That's kind of pathetic. He took a zip disc, if anyone knows what that was back in the 90s. Kim reached out to him again and put a bus token in his hand. That's literally all we had. And we kind of stared at each other for a little bit, and then we heard the sirens. And this kid ran off down the street. A whole bunch of taxicabs started arriving. I had no idea they did this, but all over Chicago, if you see a taxicab, there's probably a 4% chance it's a police car with millions of computers in it. It was crazy. All these taxicabs started screaming their wheels and coming around, and Kim, meanwhile, chased him down the block. Kim! That's you! Are you crazy? Yeah, she kind of was. She was chasing us. I'm going to get you in. I was like, get back here. And so then people started coming out of the buildings all over saying, he had a snub-nosed 38. No, I don't think he had a snub. Did he? I hope he didn't have a snub-nosed 38. He had a knife. It was about this big. I had it in my hand. I know it. So the cops were like, okay, we're going to find him. There was this one tough, probably about this tall, little woman cop. And she was bossing around all the big men cops. He said, go over here, I want you to go over here. He said, calm down, kid. You're going to get in the car and we're going to go try to find him. But I want to know if you're the bad guy or he's, I don't know what's going on. So tell me the story. I said, he's right down there. He just ran down the block. We got to go get him. She said, calm down, kid. We'll find him. Now, tell me the story. I told her the story. We got in the car. It was pretty neat in there. It was kind of fun. They kept Kim to try to look other places. And we went down the back alleys. Some pretty scary back alleys. Under the train, I remember they flashed a light down there, and there were about 4 or 5 guys that scared away like roaches. Was that him? No, that wasn't him. And so we'd given up. We got away, which scared me. Who knows where he'd be next? And then on the radio, someone came into certain apartments up the street. He's up on the 5th floor. The guy at the door said he was breathing very heavy and very sweaty and seemed afraid. So go check it out. So we went up to about the 5th floor. And if you can imagine that long corridor, right, with the fluorescent lights kind of blinking, the green fluorescent lights, and the sticky floor. And they pulled guys out of the crack house one by one. It was a crack apartment, they said. They opened the door, and way down there, they kind of had me between the little lady cop. So I was like, he wasn't supposed to see me, and they had a tall cop. I was kind of hiding because he wasn't supposed to see my face. And they brought out a guy. Short, stocky. That wasn't him. They brought out another guy. That wasn't him. Kim couldn't identify him. She was there. And she was like, can I see his teeth? I'm like, teeth? Can I see his teeth? So then they brought him out. When they brought him out, they put their hand on his chest and said that they did that because they could tell who it was based on the panicky heartbeat. No matter how cool they looked, they could tell. They put their hand on his chest. It's kind of a strange, loving thing to do. And I said, that's the man! It was like very dramatic. They threw him against the wall. They brought out the knife. He said this was hidden right under where he was sitting on the couch. And I said, okay, well, let me see. Oh yeah, that's the right size. And they're like, hmm. So we went to the station, and I told them all the things that had happened. We were there all night long. We were in the depths of Mordor, you might say. Very, very scary, dark, quiet night in a very tiny little police station that's since been torn down. The cops were all kind of surrounding me, hearing the story. And I said, you know, this guy came at me with a knife. It must have been dull. It didn't cut me. They said, hey, we've seen a lot of people die from dull knives, kid. I mean, don't worry about it. You're very lucky. And I said, well, do you think I did the right thing? And the cop leans towards me and grabs my shirt. You're here, aren't you, kid? Ain't you? Yeah, I'm here. And that made me think a lot. And I had a little bit of pride that I could maybe help save some of my family members if I ever got in a pinch. That's one thing I came out learning. And I also learned that the cops there are pretty corrupt because they said, by the way, he's in the other room, locked and handcuffed, if you know what I mean. And I was very naive and sweet. I was like, okay. And I said, no, I'm going to go get coffee, kid. Gary is his name. He's right over there. Chain, both hands, chain. Okay, kid? It's like, okay. They left. Later, I saw him in court. I thought, I'll be brave. I'll look at him. I looked over at him, and he went like this. Like that. And I wasn't going to look at him anymore. In his orange jumpsuit. He went to jail for a time. But so I learned my lessons. I learned that I had more courage than I thought I did. And I also learned that sometimes you're going to get a feeling in life, and maybe you need to listen to it, because you never know. And it'd be nice when it's all over, if someone pinches your shirt a little bit and says, you're still here, kid, ain't you? Thanks.